Find out how a Universal Orlando annual pass can save you big money on your vacation. This is episode number 40 of the Go Inform podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 40, and today we are talking about one of my favorite Universal Orlando hacks. I've been waiting a long time to share this one with you guys, and I really hope that it's something that can save you a lot of money and just make you have a better experience on your trip at Universal. My name is Maven. I'm the hostess here on the show. And thank you for joining me and welcome. And thank you to our Go Inform pass holders for helping to sponsor the show. You guys are great. Thanks so much for being part of our community. If anybody wants to join, you can head over to patreon.com/goinformed and find out all about that. So I don't know about you guys, but when I think about going to the theme parks and how far away they are and how much fun they are, I always want to think about, my next trip going back. And one of the fantasies living far from these parks is to be an annual pass holder, because for me anyway, an annual pass kind of symbolizes that I'm going back, that I'm going to get to go back, and then I'm part of something bigger than just buying a ticket and going for a few days. And it turns out that an annual pass at Universal Orlando can actually make sense for almost anyone who is traveling to the parks for more than a couple days and planning to stay on site. And so being an annual pass holder, even if you live far from Florida, is actually a really feasible and sometimes a really smart thing to do. And you still get that feeling of being a pass holder and knowing that your ticket is paid for the year. And then if you wanted to go back, you have a pass. And so there's a lot of cool reasons to become an annual pass holder at Universal. And today I'm just going to talk about the purely economic reasons why you should really consider getting an annual pass. Okay, so a lot like the episode I did about express passes, this episode is going to have a lot of math. I actually have some spreadsheets to share with you guys, and lots of links to some spots on the Universal website that are not always easy to find at first glance. So definitely, if this is something you want to explore further, please make sure that you take a look at the show notes, and those are going to be at goinform.net/40. All right, so annual passes at Universal Orlando. One of the main things to know about Universal Orlando annual passes is that the discounts that you can receive from your pass can easily outweigh the extra cost of getting a pass as opposed to just buying a park ticket. Annual passes at Universal Orlando actually are not that expensive, especially when you compare them to a place like Disney World, where this may not make sense there. You would have to be taking a pretty big trip or going back multiple times during the year to justify having an annual pass at Disney World. But in Universal, their pass pricing is really competitive, and it can make sense for you to have an annual pass, even if you just visit one time. So we're going to dive into the numbers, and I'll explain all of that and why this is truly like my favorite Universal Orlando hack. Okay, you guys, so I have a ton of notes here too. I think this is going to be kind of a long episode, but by the end of it, I feel like it's going to be super worthwhile for you because I think a lot of people don't even consider using an annual pass to save money on their trip. And you can really make a difference in where you stay and how much you spend by having this pass. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the annual pass kind of options that are at Universal Orlando. There are a number of permutations of passes. And so I want to kind of give you an idea of what they offer, and then we'll narrow it down to what you really probably just need to know if you're traveling in from somewhere away from Florida. Now, first thing I should say, all of the numbers that I'm going to give you are totally just based on the moment that I am looking this up right now on the Universal website. So this is as of November of 2018. All of these numbers are subject to change at any time, and especially the hotel rates. Those change, they can change daily. So all of it's just meant to give you an example. Obviously, you need to do your own math, but I can tell you that I have been an annual pass holder for 3 or 4 years now, I think, and it has always made sense. We stay on site when we visit the parks, and it has always made sense for us, even with price changes and all of that, to stay as annual pass holders. So that is why I'm pretty confident that this information is going to be valuable to those of you who are even listening to this a year from now. Just know that the numbers probably have changed somewhat. So again, I'll have the links to all the current Universal Orlando website information in the show notes. So just make sure you take a look at that before you make any decisions. All right, that's enough disclaimers. So, annual passes. Okay, so at Universal Orlando, there are a bunch of different options and ways that you can set up your annual pass. So the first thing is there's Florida resident passes and there's non-resident passes. If you're a Florida resident, then you probably already know that an annual pass makes sense pretty much always for you because Florida residents get a really, really good price on the passes. If you're not a Florida resident, do not try to pretend you are. They'll figure that out, and that's a really bad idea. But if you are not a Florida resident, it can still actually really make sense to get an annual pass. So all of the prices and stuff that I'm going to be talking about here, those are for non-resident prices. Okay. Now, there's a couple other things to do with the passes that are options that you can do. So you can get a 2-park pass, which is good for Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida. There is not a pass that's only good for one park at a time. That's just not a thing with the annual passes. So you can get a 2-park pass that'll get you into both of the theme parks on the same day, in and out as many times as you want. And they also have a 3-park pass now that includes Volcano Bay. So if you're a big water park fan, you might want to consider bumping up to the 3-park pass. I looked at the pricing and it is a bit of a jump in the cost. So what we're going to talk about today is the 2-park pass. And I'm very comfortable suggesting that because I always suggest that when you buy your park tickets that you get 2-park tickets, even if you're just going for the day. If you get a ticket that's only good for Islands of Adventure or only good for Universal Studios Florida, you won't be able to take the Hogwarts Express and you will only see half of the Wizarding World. So my advice is always to get a 2-park ticket. So if you're buying a 2-park pass, then you're going to be covered. You're going to get to see everything in both of those parks. Okay, so non-resident ticket we're talking about here, non-resident pass and a 2-park pass. Now, the other thing where it gets complicated is that there are 4 levels of annual passes at Universal Orlando. And the difference between the passes mainly is when you can use them. Some of the passes have blockout dates where you can't get in, use your pass for admission. And some of the levels of passes have some pretty extreme levels of discounts and perks. So the 4 levels are seasonal, power, preferred, and premier. So we're going to focus today on the seasonal and power passes. They are the least expensive passes. Every level of pass at Universal Orlando gives you the same amount of hotel discount. So it doesn't matter if you have a seasonal pass or a premier pass, you're still going to get the same discount on the hotels. The premier pass gives you stuff like free valet parking and extra discounts on stuff and like a free ticket to Halloween Horror Nights and all of that. So that's like the totally, like, if you want every perk. But if you're traveling from out of town, then you probably don't care about valet parking at the parks because you're probably staying on site and parking at the hotel, or maybe you don't even have a car. So the seasonal pass and the power pass give you the discounts at the hotels. The seasonal pass has the most blockout dates, but still not too bad. And the power pass has a few blockout dates. And so for the most part, those 2 levels are going to cover almost any time you go. But because of the blackout dates, as we're talking about this and you're thinking about when you're going to be traveling to the parks, you do need to be aware that the date you go is going to have a bearing on which level of pass that you're going to want to buy. And in my examples, I'm going to kind of give you a couple different dates that cover a few of these different pass levels. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. All right. So here's the thing, you guys. It does cost more to buy an annual pass than to buy a 2 or 3 or sometimes even a 4-day park ticket. But it doesn't cost that much more. And the discount on the hotel in many cases, will outweigh the cost of your pass. So I actually worked up a little spreadsheet with some examples, and I'm going to hit you with some numbers here. So again, if you're like driving your car and this is scrambling your brain, you can always go over to the show notes and look at this stuff later. But I'll try to boil it down to give you an illustration of what you can save and how it can work really well for you. Okay, so what I did is I made some examples. I picked a couple of dates, and these are coming up really soon. So they are probably a little higher price than if you planned ahead a little bit. But, I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of a non-peak sort of dates and a more peak dates, what kind of savings and how much your pass would cost. One thing to know is that in order to get the discount at the hotels, only one person in the room has to have an annual pass. So you only need to buy one annual pass in order to get this discount. And so in my examples here, that is the comparison that I'm doing. There are reasons why you may want to buy an annual pass for everybody that's coming on your trip. And we'll talk a little more about that after we get through this hotel stuff. But for now, I'm just trying to go real simple. And we're talking about one person in the room pays a little extra and gets an annual pass instead of just the regular park tickets. Okay, so the first set of dates I looked at, so the example I did was looking at if you stayed for 3 nights at one of the on-site hotels. And the hotels, just to kind of recap there, the on-site hotels at Universal Orlando are the Portofino Bay Hotel, the Hard Rock Hotel, the Royal Pacific, Sapphire Falls, Aventura, and Cabana Bay. So there's currently 6 on-site hotels that you can choose from. There are a lot of reasons to stay on-site. And if you haven't listened to my second episode of all the Go Informed podcast episodes, I talked about where you should stay when you visit Universal Orlando and why it makes sense to stay on-site. So, if you're wondering why I'm really focusing on those hotels, after this, go back and listen to that one, because even though it's only my second episode, I think it will be pretty clear, why it makes sense. So we're talking about the on-site hotels. Low crowd dates here, December 10th through 13th. It's not a holiday. It's kind of in the middle of December. And so you can use a seasonal pass, which is the lowest priced annual pass, to go on those dates, because those aren't blackout dates. So your annual pass, if you buy a seasonal annual pass right now, the cost is going to be about $305. If you go for 3 nights to Universal Orlando and you buy a 4-day 2-park ticket, so you could go to the park every day of your stay, that is going to cost $265. So that is $40 less than an annual pass. So an annual pass does not cost that much more than a 4-day ticket right now. Actually, sometimes a 4-day ticket costs more than $265. Through the spring of 2019, Universal has a really good deal right now on their tickets. This is kind of an aside, but just so you know, it's a buy 2 days and get 2 days free. So that $265 is actually the normal cost of just a 2-day 2-park ticket. So you can see that even if you're going to the park for a few days, an annual pass isn't that much more expensive. So you bought one annual pass, you paid an extra $40 for your park ticket, basically, because now you're getting into the park with your pass. You didn't have to buy a park ticket. All right, you guys. So the cost of your stay, and what I did is I just looked at all the hotels. I looked up all the rates. I am not going to give all that to you right now. But here are a couple of examples of your savings, okay? So if you're staying at the Sapphire Falls Hotel on site without an annual pass discount, your rate's going to be $192 a night. With the annual pass discount, at least right now, it is $134 a night. Now, if you stay for 3 nights, that's going to save you about $175 total on your room by picking up an annual pass, which you paid an extra $40 over the cost of your park ticket. So, you think that's worth it? Yeah. Actually, with those numbers, even if you only stayed 1 night, it might make sense. So you are saving $175 on a 3-night stay with your annual pass that costs $40. So, you're saving $135 net. So your net savings there is about $135. So kind of a no-brainer, right? If you want to, so Sapphire Falls is one of the kind of moderate hotels at Universal Orlando. And the next level up would be probably the Royal Pacific Hotel. And I looked also at the savings there, and your regular price at the Royal Pacific is $247 a night. But with the annual pass discount, it goes down to $179 a night. So for 3 nights, that's a little over $200 in savings. And you guys, the Royal Pacific is one of the Express Pass hotels. So, for people who stay, guests who stay at the Royal Pacific, the Hard Rock, or the Portofino Bay, as part of their room, every guest in that room gets unlimited express passes for every day of your stay, included in your room rate. So I did an episode about Express Passes a little while ago, and they are amazing. They allow you to skip the line on almost every ride at Universal, and Universal charges you at least $100 a day to buy these things. So if you stay in one of the Express Pass hotels, you get that included with your room for everybody in your room. Upgrading to one of those hotels makes a ton of sense because it sometimes doesn't cost that much more to stay in an Express Pass hotel. And when you consider the value of the Express Pass, it almost always makes sense to do that. Part of the reason I'm bringing that up with this example is that going back to these numbers, the regular room rate at the Sapphire Falls, which does not give you an Express Pass, is $192 a night. But if you have an annual pass holder discount, you can stay in the Royal Pacific, which does give you Express Passes, for $179 a night. So that annual pass holder discount might make the difference between your deciding to stay in a non-Express Pass hotel or switching over and upgrading into an Express Pass hotel. Because at least for these dates, on the day I looked up these prices, if you have an annual pass holder discount, it's cheaper to stay in the Royal Pacific than if you paid the regular rate at the Sapphire Falls. And the Royal Pacific is going to give everyone in your room an Express Pass for every day that you are staying there. So, if you've got 4 people in your room and you're staying 3 nights, you are going to get an Express Pass for everybody for 4 days. And the price of those Express Pass, the value, if you went in the park and bought one, is $100 a day. That's a lot, you guys. I mean, $100 a day times 4 days times 4 people, that's a $1,600 expense that you don't have because you're staying in that Express Pass hotel. And if you're an annual pass holder, you're staying in that Express Pass hotel for even less than a non-pass holder is staying in the non-Express Pass hotel. So did I just blow your mind, you guys? There are some amazing things that you can do when you start layering in all of these kind of insights about how stuff is priced at Universal Orlando. So, in this case, with this example, if I was going there for these 3 nights, it's a no-brainer. I would spring for the annual pass. I would get that discount and I would stay in the Royal Pacific for $179 a night and get my Express Passes. That is the kind of thing that you should be thinking about when you're considering whether or not to do this. But yeah, it's a really powerful discount. I mean, it's pretty amazing. All right. So that is if you're going on kind of a non-peak date and you can get the cheapest annual pass available. So let's talk about if you need to upgrade the pass and is it still worth it? And if you're going on a busier time. The next example I have, or the other example here, is what if you went during Thanksgiving week? So that's going to be a pretty high crowd time in the parks and a time when there is blackout dates. So you're going to have to upgrade to the Power Pass, and the hotels cost more and a lot. So I took a look at if you did the 3 nights from November 21st until the 24th of this year, 2018. Again, these are example rates. Probably by the time this episode goes live, some of these hotels will be sold out. And so you guys just take this for future reference, okay? So for Thanksgiving, the seasonal pass, one of the dates is blocked out at one of the parks. So I wanted you to have full access to everything. So you're going to have to buy a Power Pass if you go at Thanksgiving. A Power Pass costs more than a seasonal pass, but it's not that much more and it can still really be worth it. just in terms of those blockout dates too, you guys, the Power Pass also has some blockout dates, but they are basically Christmas, New Year's, and like Easter week. So if you're going to travel on those dates, you're going to have to upgrade to the next level, which is a preferred pass. But most people, I am assuming, are going to travel sometime other than those few weeks of the year. So this Power Pass example is probably going to apply to almost anybody here. But if you are going on Christmas or Easter, you may really still want to do this upgrade and even pay for the preferred pass, because it has a few more discounts in the parks, and your hotels are going to be more expensive. So the discount, the actual dollars you're going to save, it might make sense. So don't count it out if you're traveling on one of those busy days. Just be aware that you may have to adjust which pass you choose. Okay, so Thanksgiving. Okay, here's one of the things about my example here is because we're getting so close to Thanksgiving, I wasn't able to see annual pass holder discounts at all of the hotels. So there's a limited number of these. You do want to plan ahead a little bit. But in my experience, you can almost always find at least one of the Express Pass hotels with an annual pass discount, and at least one of the other hotels with an annual pass discount. So you just want to keep an eye on when those things pop up and grab it when you see it. So this example, we're just going to talk about the discount at the non-Express Pass hotels, but it's still really valuable. So again, just to give you the sense of how much more you're paying over your park ticket. So the 4-day park ticket cost is $265. If you have to buy a Power Pass, that costs $355. So you're paying an extra $90 for your park ticket. Okay. So at the hotels, at the Cabana Bay, the discount over 3 nights is $285. At the Aventura, the 3-night discount would add up to $200 total. And at Sapphire Falls, you would actually save a total of $315 over those 3 nights of your stay. So you paid an extra $90 to get that annual pass, and you can save like $300 on your hotel. So, you know, your net savings is like $200 because you bought an annual pass. It's really a great deal, whether you choose to try to go to one of the more luxury Express Pass hotels or into one of these other hotels. And, you know, with this discount, like the Cabana Bay, and this is literally, you would be spending the night of Thanksgiving on site at Universal Orlando. The rate's $116 a night for an annual pass holder. So it can really help make it more affordable to stay on site. Even when you just stay at the Cabana Bay, you're going to get early admission into the parks. And that is huge on a super busy time like Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. And, you know, $116 a night, I think you'd be hard pressed to find, you know, a decent place to stay in Orlando on Thanksgiving at that rate, especially recording this just weeks before Thanksgiving, you guys. So this is definitely a really great idea if you're trying to decide to stay on site and you want to choose one of these hotels. All right. So I have quite a few extra tips about how to book this, how to make this decision for your dates, and how to decide which pass you need and all of that. One thing to know about the annual pass discount is that Universal doesn't announce the discounts until usually about a month, maybe 2 months before, ahead of the dates. So like, for example, this is the beginning of November, and they're showing on their website the discounts through Christmas. And I'm not sure how long those have all been up. They tend to take them in a block and suddenly release them. So you can't plan which hotel to stay in, you're not going to know where your biggest discount is until probably like 2 months before your trip. So here's the thing. It almost always makes sense to have an annual pass and use that for your discount. But before you make that final decision, it always makes sense to really see the numbers and know what the hotel discount is going to be. So my advice here is I think most people probably plan their trips a lot more than 2 months in advance, especially you guys, because I know you're listening because you're planners and you want to have all the information and have it all scheduled and ready to go. So this is what I've done before and what I would recommend you do. Don't buy your park tickets when you book your hotel. Go ahead and make your hotel booking for the dates you're going to be at Universal Orlando. Make sure you can cancel that hotel booking. Choose the one you want on whatever basis you want, and get it booked. So you know you have your hotel, you know you have a place to stay. Be satisfied with what that is. But don't buy your park tickets yet, because you don't need to own an annual pass in order to find out what the annual pass discount rate is. So what you can do is keep an eye on the Universal Orlando Annual Pass link into their reservations. And that is going to be in my show notes. So again, go informed.net/40. You can also just go over to universalorlando.com and look for, their site changes a lot, but right now there's a spot that says annual pass holders, and you can click that and it should give you a hotel reservation link. So anybody can look at that and see what the annual pass holder rate is right now. But Universal doesn't show those discounts very far in advance. So what you need to do is start looking like maybe about 10 weeks out before your trip. Get over onto that site and check for annual pass holder discounts. And eventually they will pop up. And when they do, you can look and see what the prices are for the hotels if you're an annual pass holder. And at that point, you can make the decision if it makes sense for you to buy an annual pass in order to get that discount. So that is when you can make your hotel reservation, you can cancel the first one, and you can book your hotel as an annual pass holder discount, and that's when you can buy your annual pass. If you already bought park tickets, you're not going to want to also buy an annual pass. And that's the reason why I suggest you wait to decide if you need to buy a park ticket or if you're going to buy a pass. Wait until you see what the hotel rates look like. Because, once in a while, it might make more sense just to buy park tickets and not do the annual pass discount. And I would hate for you to get locked into one or the other without having all the information. So, go ahead and book a hotel now, but know that you might change it when you get closer to your trip. And the other thing to know is that Universal does offer discounts on their park tickets once in a while. And as I mentioned, right now they have one going where it's buy 2 days, get 2 days free. And that is going to expire at some point. And so then the price of the tickets is going to be higher, which may or may not affect your decision whether you want to pay for the annual pass, but it's another factor in there. So I just recommend that if you are planning a trip kind of far in advance, keep flexible on your park tickets and watch for specials and watch for those discounts on the hotels, because it might not be until 2 months before your trip or 6 weeks before that hotel discount pops up that you really want. And that's the point where you can make that booking and go ahead and order your annual pass. So you only need your annual pass by the time you're going to check into the hotel. So just have that in mind. And, you can wait until the very last minute to make your decision about what tickets you want or what pass you want. I do always recommend that you purchase your tickets or your pass online before you get to Universal. You don't want to spend time fooling around with that when you get there. So, at least a few weeks before your trip, you're going to want to make that decision whether you're going to buy a pass or buy tickets. But you don't really have to do anything any more farther in advance than that. Okay, you guys, so I mentioned earlier that there are other reasons why you might want to have an annual pass at Universal Orlando, and why more than one person in your group might want to have a pass. And right now, Universal has quite a few reasons why it might make sense. And so I want to tell you about some of that too. Okay, so one of the biggest things that Universal is doing right now is that they are actually making their annual passes last longer than 12 months. So if you buy an annual pass right now, if you buy a seasonal or a power pass, which are the two levels that we were just talking about, they are actually going to last for 15 months until you have to renew them. So you get 3 free months on your pass. And for the next level up, the preferred and the premier passes, those are actually good for 18 months. So if you have a trip planned, a second trip planned sometime in, the next 15 or 18 months, then it may make sense for you to buy an annual pass, even if you're not staying on site, because you're going to be able to go into the parks on both of those trips, and you're just going to pay a one-time price, and you're going to have your park tickets for 15 or 18 months totally covered. That is pretty huge, and it's a really nice perk that Universal is offering right now. I know that a lot of people are thinking about going back to Orlando in like 2020 because by then the new Star Wars land is going to be open at Disney World. And if you're one of those people that's like, yeah, I'm going now, but I really want to go back during that year, then an annual pass at Universal might just be perfect for you, because you could buy that pass once and it could last long enough to cover the trip, your return trip back, almost a year and a half away. So that is huge, and a big reason why everybody in your group may want to buy an annual pass, because if you're just going to go to the park for 3 or 4 days on your first trip, you are going to be paying more than that ticket cost. But then when you come back, you're already paid. You don't have to pay anything else. So that's a pretty big savings. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you've got a return trip coming, think about getting annual passes for everybody. Okay, the other reason that an annual pass in terms of return trips can really, really make sense is that the renewal price on these annual passes is less than what you paid to buy the pass in the beginning. So right now, as I was saying before, the seasonal pass, when you initially buy it, it costs $305. But when you renew it, at least at today's price, it's $244. The park ticket was $265, but you can renew your seasonal pass for $244. So it's actually cheaper than a multi-day ticket at Universal when you renew your pass. So if you are thinking about that you're going to be back to Universal in the next few years, it could make sense for you to buy a pass just for the renewal rate, because every time you renew it, it's probably going to be cheaper than it would cost you to buy a park ticket. Plus, you're getting all the hotel discounts. So, the seasonal pass right now is renewing for $244. The power pass is renewing for $284. And the initial cost on that's $355. So it is a really great deal when you get down to those renewal rates. And they are right now, they're offering that long, even on renewals, you're getting a 15-month pass with the Power and the seasonal pass, and you're getting an 18-month pass with the preferred and premier passes. So they are really good to their pass holders, and they really try to offer some great discounts to people who renew their passes. And you can even sometimes you can get an annual photo pass too, for pass holders. So there are a lot of great reasons to keep your pass. And if again, you are kind of prepaying, but once you've got that annual pass, then you can feel free to go back to Universal whenever you want, as many times as you want, and take advantage of your prepaid park ticket and your hotel discounts. So annual passes at Universal can really, really make sense. And you guys probably think I'm like getting paid to sell annual passes for Universal, but I am not. That's not my business. But I really think that it's a great way to save money. In terms of how you actually book these discounts on these hotels, I think there's probably, as far as I'm aware, there's two ways to do it. So when you want to book your hotel with the annual pass holder discount, the main way that people are doing it is through the Universal Orlando website. So you do need to go into that annual pass holder link on their site and choose the hotel and book it through their portal. And again, I'll put that in the show notes so you can find it. I do believe that if you are working with a travel agent, that a travel agent can probably get you this discount and help you buy an annual pass. So a travel agent should be able to also help you kind of figure out more, what's going to make the best sense for you in terms of should you get a pass, where do you want to stay, and all of that. So I am assuming that a travel agent will be able to book this discount for you. I don't think you're going to be able to go on to Expedia or Booking.com or somewhere and plug this discount in. I do think you're going to have to book it through the Universal site. But I don't think that's a very big hassle. And that's where you're going to have to go to search for the rates anyway. But just be aware that that's where you're going to find it, and that's where you're going to book it. So tons of information here today. I hope that I've convinced some of you guys to take a serious look at becoming a Universal Orlando pass holder. It's just one of those things that I never knew about it until I heard about it on a podcast. So I'm really happy to share that with you guys. I hope that it helps you have a better vacation and save lots of money on your trip too. The show notes again are at goinform.net/40. If there's anything, I have probably left out something and you're going to have questions or you're going to have comments or whatever, you can send me a message through Facebook. You can go on to the show notes and leave a comment or a question. Just at the bottom of the show notes, there's a comment section, and you can leave a message there for me and we can continue the conversation. But do let me know if you have questions or want to know more about this. Thank you so much for listening today. I know you guys have lots to think about now, so enjoy imagining yourself as a Universal Orlando pass holder, and I hope you have a phenomenal vacation.